Look at these massive stone walls. In the years before 587 BC, Jerusalem projected absolute strength. Inside these gates walked seasoned men of war, respected judges, cunning artisans, and eloquent orators. But the architecture was a facade. The external defenses held firm, while the societal bedrock supporting those walls was rapidly fracturing from the inside out. The prophet Isaiah saw exactly what was happening. He warned that the Lord of hosts would take away from Jerusalem the stay and the staff, the very props that hold a nation upright, including the entire supply of bread and water. A nation rarely falls overnight to an invading army. It falls over decades as the invisible pillars of leadership, morality, and resources decay, leaving an empty shell waiting for a final push. Isaiah pointed to a specific cause for this decay. He warned that babes shall rule over them. This was a literal observation of the monarchy in Judah. This chart maps out the starting ages of Judah's final kings. You can see a clear pattern of extreme youth taking the throne. Josiah started at age 8, Manasseh at 12, Jehoiakim at 18, and Zedekiah at 21. The highest seat of power was occupied by teenagers and young men. While these inexperienced rulers were reviving human sacrifice and idolatry at home, they were also making impulsive geopolitical bets. They sought alliances with Egypt and actively rebelled against the reigning superpower of the era, Babylon. Putting an entire nation's foreign policy in the hands of arrogant youth guarantees a blind collision with a military machine that the nation is entirely unequipped to fight. In 587 BC, the Chaldean army arrived. They marched from Babylon directly to the gates of Jerusalem, cutting off the city from the outside world and beginning a brutal, suffocating siege. The immediate strategy of the siege was to attack the city's biological needs. The staff of life was broken, meaning the complete exhaustion of their food and water supplies. Inside the walls, survival required meticulous, terrifying rationing. The prophet Ezekiel documented the reality. The citizens were forced to eat their bread by exact weight and drink their meager water by careful measure, living in constant, agonizing care. Absolute famine creates a distinct psychological terror. When the physical body is starved of water and calories, the thin veneer of civilized behavior quickly dissolves into pure survival instinct. Extreme physical deprivation is a brutal catalyst. It forces a society to cross moral boundaries and abandon its rules far faster than any invading army could force it to. As the city fell, Babylon executed a calculated brain drain. They systematically removed Judah's remaining pillars of competence: the seasoned military officers, the judges, the elderly, and prophets like Daniel and Ezekiel. Those who survived the siege were forcibly marched hundreds of miles across the desert to serve in the heart of the Babylonian Empire, walking through these massive glazed brick gates into a foreign imperial capital. Back inside the ruined walls of Jerusalem, this mass deportation created a terrifying vacuum. The experienced guides were gone. The resulting social order was pure cannibalization. Isaiah's record states that the child behaved himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. The uneducated youth took control, exploiting the vulnerable citizens who remained. When you drain a nation of its historical memory and its capable administrators, the surviving population doesn't rebuild. It violently turns on itself from the bottom up. To truly understand the depth of this collapse, we have to look past the geopolitical maps and the breached city walls and zoom in on the intimate ruin of a single household. Isaiah describes a desperate scenario. A starving man approaches a brother from the house of his father, pleading for intervention. The brother being approached possesses one distinct advantage: he still has clothing. In a completely depleted city, a simple coat is a major indicator of remnant wealth. The younger brother grabs hold of him and begs him to take control of the family birthright. He says, "Thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand." The bedrock of ancient civilization was the duty to care for your family. But in the late stages of starvation and social breakdown, that obligation becomes an impossible, lethal burden. The older brother's response is terrifying. He raises his hand and swears a formal oath, stating flatly, "I will not be an healer." He explains the cold math of his refusal. Inside his own house, there is neither bread nor clothing. He has nothing left to offer, and he is powerless to stop the starvation of his own kin. This total refusal to take responsibility is the ultimate erasure of basic human instinct. The final ties of community and loyalty are severed by the sheer desperation to survive one more day. Isaiah writes that this specific tragedy is why Jerusalem was ruined and Judah had fallen. Their daily choices, their corruption, and their open rebellion against the Lord directly provoked this exact catastrophe. A civilization doesn't officially die the moment an enemy army breaches its walls. It dies when its moral compass shatters, its basic resources vanish, and its own citizens look at the starving ruin of their own family and say, "Make me not a ruler of the people."